Have you ever wondered how massive companies take that absolute mess of data they collect and somehow turn it into smart, money-making decisions? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful platform that does exactly that, the Informatica Intelligent Data Management Cloud. Let's dive right in.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with why data is such a mess these days, the core problem. Then we'll look at Informatica's architecture and how it's designed to fix that problem. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of its integration engine, see how you can put everything on autopilot, and finally, we'll connect it all back to how this actually helps real people make much, much better decisions.
Okay, first things first. To really appreciate why a platform like this even exists, you've got to understand the problem it's built to solve. And honestly, in today's world, that problem is pure data chaos.
So where is all this chaos coming from? I mean, it's not like it's all sitting in one neat spreadsheet, right? No way. It's this constant flood of information coming from absolutely everywhere. Your internal business systems, every single tap on your company's app, social media feeds, data streaming from IoT sensors, you name it. It's just a huge chaotic mess, and businesses are literally trying to drink from a fire hose.
And this diagram, it really captures the entire story in one shot. To make any sense of that data fire hose, you need a central command center, a single, unified platform that's built to bring in, process, and manage all of that data, no matter what it looks like or where it came from.
So let's take a look at the blueprint for that command center. This is the Informatica Intelligent Data Management Cloud, or IDMC for short. And probably the best way to think about it is like a super sophisticated, fully automated data factory.
At its heart, IDMC is what the tech world calls an iPaaS. That's Integration Platform as a Service. Now, don't get hung up on the acronym. All it really means is that it's a service running in the cloud that's designed to handle all things data integration. It connects your systems, moves the data around, and lets you manage the whole shebang from one place. Now, looking at our data factory diagram again, it's pretty easy to break down. Over on the far left, you've got all your raw materials, that chaotic mix of data sources we were just talking about. Right in the middle, that's the factory itself, Informatica's cloud services doing all the hard work of cleaning, shaping, and organizing the data. And then on the right, you have the finished product, clean, reliable data being delivered to the people who actually need to use it. All right, let's zoom in a little closer, onto the factory floor itself. How does the platform actually take all that raw, messy data and turn it into something genuinely useful? Well, that's where the data integration service comes into play. You know, the most basic building block of this whole thing is something called a mapping. Just think of a mapping as the recipe for a data job. It's a visual blueprint that says, okay, take this raw sales data from over here, mix it with this customer info from over here, clean it up, and then load the final result into our main database. It lays out every single step. And then on this data assembly line, developers get a whole toolkit of what are called transformations. These are like the specialized machines that do all the work. For example, a filter transformation is like a quality control station that pulls out any data you don't want. A sorter puts everything in perfect order. A joiner cleverly stitches together data from two different places, like matching a customer to their recent orders. And an aggregator does the math, calculating things like total sales for a region. Now, this is where it gets really smart. To make this data factory super efficient, Informatica uses a concept called a maplet. So if a mapping is the entire assembly line, think of a maplet as a pre-built, reusable workstation on that line. Say you have a standard 5-step process for cleaning up customer addresses. Instead of building those 5 steps from scratch every single time, you build it once as a maplet. Then you can just drop that address cleaning station into any assembly line that needs it. It's a game changer for saving time and making sure everything is done consistently. Okay, so we built our individual assembly lines, our mappings. But any real business process involves more than just one step, right? So how do you connect all these different assembly lines together and put the entire factory on autopilot? The answer is something called a task flow. A task flow is basically the master control panel for the whole factory. It lets you chain together a bunch of different mappings and other jobs to create a full business workflow. So you can say, first, run the job that loads today's sales data. If that works, then run the job to update the customer database. And when that's done, kick off the job that generates the final report. And setting one up is really just a logical process. You define the sequence of events, you literally drag and drop your pre-built mappings into the flow, you tell it when to run, like say, every single night at 2 a.m., and then you just let it do its thing while you monitor its progress automatically. And this automation can get incredibly powerful. We're not just talking about running things on a timer. The platform can talk to other applications through APIs, it can handle unexpected errors gracefully without the whole thing crashing, and it can use flexible parameters so the same workflow can be used for different regions or departments. It all adds up to less manual babysitting and way more reliable results.
So here's the most important question. Why? Why build this huge, complex data factory? Who's actually waiting at the end of the line for these perfectly prepared data products? This is where all that technical work turns into real, actual business value.
First up, you've got the business user. Think of the folks in marketing, or sales, or finance. They couldn't care less about mappings and task flows. All they need to know is that when they look at their weekly sales report, the numbers are right. This platform makes sure the data they're using is clean, consistent, and totally trustworthy.
Next up, the data analyst. These are the company's detectives, always digging for deeper trends. But you know what? Most analysts spend about 80% of their time just trying to clean up messy data. With a platform like this, they get access to a curated, governed set of data, which means they can spend their time actually finding insights instead of just doing data janitor work.
And finally, we have the data scientist. You know, the biggest challenge in building AI and machine learning models isn't the fancy algorithm. It's getting enough clean, high-quality data to train the models in the first place. This platform is like the fuel pipeline for AI, delivering prepared, trusted data that's ready to go for the most cutting-edge projects. So when you boil it all down, that's really the whole point. The entire system, from the tiniest little transformation to the most complicated workflow, is all designed to do one thing: to take that chaotic flood of raw data and transform it into trusted, intelligent insights that the entire business can rely on. So, I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. What could your business do if all of its data, from sales, from logistics, from customer support, was all working from a single source of truth? What could you achieve if every piece of data you had spoke the same trusted language? That's the kind of power we're talking about here. Thanks for tuning in for this explainer.